Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 2C TV with your latest news update from the Middle East. The tensions between Israel and the Islamic Republic of Iran are escalating. The IDF and Mossad have now have sent their official recommendation for an immediate attack on the Iranian regime, and Iran as a country is falling apart as we speak. And in this video we're going to give you guys all the facts, unlike the mainstream global corporate media. And before we start, obviously don't forget it is Christmas time, and we have to obviously give you guys a discount, so 50% off 2CTV Plus annual memberships if you use the promo code Christmas50. Go on 2c.tv or find the link in the description. Join now before the offer runs out, because otherwise I'm not going to do it again. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the Islamic Republic of Iran effed around, and now they are finding out. The Israelis are prepared because they have already destroyed the air defense system of Iran. Hezbollah is dealt with. There is a pseudo ceasefire, whatever you want to call it. Hamas in Gaza have been basically completely destroyed. There is no real leadership, and now the battle has moved towards Yemen and the Houthis. That's the final frontier as a proxy before we actually head towards Iran. Now, first things first, we've had a number of issues in Europe. We had obviously the attack in Germany a couple of days ago. We continue to have attacks. We also had an issue in Sweden. We're having problems in the United Kingdom, in Canada, across the whole Western world, mostly because of the influence of the Islamic Republic of Iran and their puppets, including the state of Qatar. Now it's time to hit back. That's according to the Western side. With the new president-elect Donald J. Trump preparing to take office, things are changing. The policy from the Western governments, essentially the US, is changing. First, let's go to Mossad. And obviously the chief of Mossad, David Barnier, he essentially said that I recommend confronting Iran directly for the Houthis' ballistic missile and drone attacks against Israel. Now, not only that David obviously recommended this, we now know that the IDF are prepared in terms of the actual strategic advice to the Israeli government. There is a lot of pressure on Netanyahu to actually act as quickly as possible, because obviously now is the perfect time to hit back before Iran prepares their third or fourth attack at this point, third attack on the Israeli territory. The Iranian regime are not doing too well, ladies and gentlemen. In this video, we're going to give you guys all the facts and latest information that we have coming from Iran. But first things first, why do you think that the Israelis are having these sort of meetings? Why do you think that the Israelis are preparing this? Mostly because, number one, the destruction of Iran's air defense systems, which opens the door to for IDF operations. They could do whatever they want. The so-called ceasefire agreement in Lebanon with Hezbollah has basically given more equipment and time to Israelis to use against Iran. And of course, Donald Trump's return to the White House. These are important updates that could actually change the whole game, because the Iranian regime have been saying, we're going to attack, we're going to attack. They've been saying that for some time. So what they do instead is they keep using their proxies, they keep using the Qatari influence to mess up the West, cause division, cause hatred, and of course, attack Israel and blame it on the Israelis. Having said that, the Iranian regime are falling apart now. The whole country is falling apart because they don't know how to manage a simple country, right? The latest update is that the currency in Iran has massively collapsed now. It's over. It's done. 777,000 rial to $1. That is embarrassing. This is the end of the regime as we know it. It's just a matter of time. And the reason I say that, and it's not exaggeration, is because everything is collapsing. The gas shortage right now has reached a new level. Cars can't actually even go to petrol stations to get petrol. They've had to close down a number of the institutions because obviously they rely on gas. For the record, Iran is a producer of gas. They have a lot of it. They messed up. That's one. We now have power outages across the country. This is turning into Venezuela. Iran has now turned into Venezuela, a communist dystopia, because of the Islamic occupiers. They don't have power in Iran, a very rich country with a rich history behind it. No power. It keeps going on off and on. Thirdly, schools are being closed down. There's school closures left, right, and center because, again, partly because of the lack of energy. And secondly, also, it's kind of good news for the regime because they continue to have protests left, right, and center. This photo is obviously from a year ago, a year and a half ago, when the school kids, schoolgirls, were protesting against the supreme leader by taking off their hijab. It was a bit of a shambolic situation for the government to deal with. So it's kind of helping them. But with people being at home more, they're not going to be able to go to work. They're not going to school. Banks are closed. We're going to talk about the banks as well. That's just going to increase the protests. There are already general strikes and protests in different sectors and industries. Workers are not being paid, so they are protesting outside the industries and factories. The whole thing is kicking off and it's massively imploding inside the country. 57% of Iranians are experiencing some level of malnutrition, emissions, and also 30% of the country is now living below the poverty line. Now that is a whole new thing that, as I said, Iran is turning into Venezuela. But it's not even just about poverty. Look at the banks. Banks are now closing down. They cannot even run their own financial services and sector because there is no money left. And I'm going to explain what happened with the money, by the way. You might wonder what happened. Iran had a lot of money. Oh yeah, because it's not actually in the country. We'll go to that. There we go. Bashar al-Assad took $50 billion from Iran. So the Iranian regime invested $50 billion in supporting Bashar al-Assad, right? Obviously, the regime has collapsed and the Iranian regime have completely lost every single penny of that. That is a lot of money when you convert it to the Iranian currency, rial. Now, you wonder why this is the perfect opportunity for Mossad to obviously recommend to the IDF so that they could suggest it to the war cabinet to take it further, because the Houthis are their final real proxies and they're not even serious. You cannot take the Houthis in Yemen as a serious proxy. They're a bunch of idiots and clowns who are simply partly funded by the Iranian regime, right? This is going to be so easy to deal with. We do have a statement from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu who said, as we acted forcefully against the terror arms of Iran's evil axis, so we will act against the Houthis. Only in this case, we are not acting alone. The US and other countries see the Houthis as a threat not only to international shipping, but to the international order. Therefore, we will act forcefully with determination and sophistication. I tell you, even if it takes time, the result will be the same result as against the other terror arms. But what I ask of you, the citizens of Israel, is to be patient, to continue to show the same firm stance that you have shown so far, and to be very careful to follow the Home Front Command instructions. I ask you, you do this, we will do everything else. Yes, the Israelis have been extremely patient, and this was about 3-4 months ago when it was getting a little bit tense in terms of internally, the internal politics of Israel, because a lot of people were saying, but why are we not seeing progress when it comes to the conflict overall? And then everything happened at the same time. Yahya Sinwar, Hassan Nasrallah, the pages, the Iranian air defense system, everything completely collapsed. So these are all massive wins for Netanyahu and the IDF. And now the last one is coming, and that's called Donald J. Trump, the biggest ally that Netanyahu could have asked for. That goes back to the involvement of the US as well, because the US has interests when it comes to the shipping and everything else around Yemen, and the Houthis are not helping. But Israel is now being blamed for the widespread power outages affecting millions of people in Iran, right? This is according to a senior official from Iran's oil ministry that's told the New York Times that Israel's February bombings of gas pipelines forced Iran to tap into emergency reserves, leaving the country struggling. Hang on. In February, and any time that you had the Israelis doing something, right? For the record, the Iranian regime have been going around claiming that Israel has not damaged anything in Iran and outside, even with the proxies. Israel apparently hasn't done anything, and now they're saying Israel has been destroying pipelines. This is why the US have now announced the plans to step up their operations against the Houthi forces in Yemen. Even the Americans, because Trump has already told the current administration that things are going to change. I'm going to come into office in January, so tell your team and the armed forces to get ready now. And Biden has to do something now because his legacy is already absolutely terrible with the fall of Afghanistan and the whole situation in Ukraine and Israel. So the Americans obviously, and it's not really Joe Biden calling the shots. So the generals are basically deciding, yeah, we have to step up the operations because President Trump is coming. Let's get ready. This is the latest that we have because last night a US jet was shot down. The Houthis took responsibility, saying, we brought down the US jets. No, it was friendly fire, like idiots, by the way. The US Central Command said a friendly fire incident occurred earlier tonight, this is last night, over the Red Sea with a US Navy and F-18F Super Hornet from the USS Harry S. Truman being accidentally shot down. It is a little bit embarrassing, by the way. This was by USS Gettysburg. Both pilots were able to safely eject over the water and have since been rescued, with one of the pilots suffering minor injuries. Now, there's a lot of questions here. We don't believe the Houthis were responsible for this. On the other hand, this is too stupid for the Americans to do it. The third scenario is that the pilots who were involved in this were probably, or the people who have shut them down, were DEI hires. Woke DEI. There's no explanation why the Americans would do an accident like this, a friendly fire. It's just, something doesn't make sense here, basically. But I also don't believe the Houthis. They're not that good. But we will obviously keep you guys posted over the next few hours and days as we get more developments. While we are here, let's get some reaction quickly. Super chat from Mike, thank you, saying, let us hope that the true Iranians can be kept safe. In other tragic news, Man United were beaten at home by Bournemouth 3-0. I know. We don't talk about that. We don't talk about Man United right now. Not for the next 8 months, until the next season. Barbara says that IRGC money nearly as bad as the dollar since this NAFA party took over. What? As bad as the dollar? The dollar is much more supreme. I might have misunderstood the comment, unfortunately. Hoffman says that I don't need to say anything, just Google my name. Tommy Robinson fan for 14 years. No surrender to evil. Good. Never give up. Never surrender, Hoffman. Anyway. Blue Peter says DEI hire is a very likely explanation, not even from a treason thought, just sheer incompetence. Yep, this is the only explanation of what happened last night over the Red Sea, because they cannot be that incompetent. I mean, what was happening? It wasn't even like a heated conflict for the US to say, oh, we accidentally shot our own pilots. We were going to aim for something else. What were you aiming for? There were no jets on behalf of the Houthis. I don't understand what happened. Did the US pilots think that the Houthi cavemen have fighter jets? That's a good question. I mean, unless they thought it was someone else. It has to be DEI hires. Somebody got fired after last night. Somebody's in trouble. Ivan says Man United probably owned by Qatar. They were almost bought by Qatar last year, actually. Manchester United as a club. It didn't happen. So there was a lot of opposition to it. No, the Qataris didn't buy United. They got kicked out. Someone said it's an automatic system. They got too close. Well, that doesn't really help the situation with the pilots. It's still DEI pilots. Again, I'm just speculating. We don't know. It's just, you don't expect it from the US Navy. Diane says, Merry Christmas, Maya. Merry Christmas, Diane. Almost, by the way. 2 days to go. 3 days. What? Yep. I hope you and your family have a wonderful time. Hope you're taking the day off. You think so? Yeah. Well, with everything that's going on in the world, I don't think TCTV will take a day off. Although, we will definitely be posting fewer live streams unless something bad happens. Otherwise, most of the live updates you're going to get on this channel throughout the Christmas period, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, is just going to be me live streaming myself opening up presents and making jokes and getting drunk. So if you want that sort of content, we'll definitely do live streams. There will be very, very politically incorrect jokes that will definitely get me cancelled. But it's worth it because it's Christmas. What else are you going to do? Barbara says, my pound, not dollar. Did you say pound? Did I read dollar? Like, oh, for God's sake. Is it pound sign? It was the pound sign. No, but don't insult the pound. But that's the one thing we have as a country. Pound sterling is still superior. Now, pound is fine. I mean, look at the actual exchange compared to any other international currency, apart from the main ones, the dollar and then the euro. Obviously, pound is still higher, but there's a reason for that, by the way, because the Bank of England still runs the world financially, not in terms of geopolitics. That's still mostly the Americans. Angela says, I just hope this all comes to an end soon, and then we can start deporting all the illegals from Europe and Britain. I have bad news for you. I don't think that's going to happen. I think this is just the beginning, because what we're talking about is this imminent conflict between the State of Israel and the Islamic Republic of Iran is just the beginning of what is going to happen, which means Trump knows what he's doing. Trump has already said, he's going to give the green light to Netanyahu and the IDF to do the counterterrorism operation against terrorists, the Iranian regime and all the others. But he's also said, well, obviously, he's going to hold Israel to account because he has to, as a good ally. And Israel should also not just randomly say yes or no to the US president. That was a problem with Joe Biden. Joe Biden administration kept putting pressure on Netanyahu, and the Israelis kept compromising. That was the problem. This happened so many times with the Israeli governments. A lot of compromises over the last few decades. But it's time to actually have a grown-up relationship between the Americans and the Israelis as allies. And it's probably best for the European Union and Britain to stay away, because none of these governments are good at foreign policy. I can assure you, they don't know what to do. The European Union, who we just obviously posted the video earlier today with a partnership with Visegrad 24, exposing the state of Qatar and their dodgy relationship with the European Parliament. Do you really think you can trust the European governments to go and say, we're going to help Israel? No, not even France. Britain, not really sure what we're up to these days when it comes to Foreign Office and MOD, the Minister of Defense. Not really sure what's going on with Britain. And right now, you have to make sure, because they might get too excited. We do not want European soldiers to go and put their boots on the ground in the Middle East. That's just a crazy thought. Don't even consider having more British tax money being wasted to fight against the Islamic Republic. That is just completely out of question. That's the one thing that the globalists would love for forever wars, to never stop, because there's a lot of money into it. Having said that, they don't want a war with Iran for obvious reasons, because the Western globalists would rather have the Islamic Republic in charge of Iran than an actual strong equal partner, which obviously makes things more complicated for people inside Iran. Reggie says, thanks for your honest report and your hard work keeping us updated with real information. Unlike the deceptive mainstream media, I've always known deep inside that Qatar is the source of all evil. Partly, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Qatar have a lot of money, but when it comes to geopolitical strategic decisions, they are the puppet of the Islamic Republic. So they're not even calling the shots themselves. They are just a big pocket for the Islamic Republic of Iran to go around, buy out football clubs, and influence university campuses in America, in Canada, in the UK, and just cause trouble. Essentially, Qatar is the financial proxy of the Iranian regime, while the Houthis and Hezbollah are the more militant proxies of the Iranian regime. Daniel says, don't fool yourself. The Biden administration doesn't fire anyone. That's a good point. Yeah. I mean, it's not up to the Biden administration to fire, hypothetically, a pilot who just messed up, or someone who shot down a pilot who messed up. It's not the job of the Biden administration. It's the job of the Pentagon to do it. But I still get the point. Daniel is right. It's insane. What is this? Chris says, have you already gained freedom of press as you are not a member of the leftist union? Have you already gained the freedom of press? Gained the freedom of press? As you're... I've always had my own freedom. I self-identify as free. So I don't know what this is. Is this about the issue we have, ongoing issue in the UK with independent reporters not being able to be, getting a press pass? But yeah, because they don't want us to get a press pass. That's the issue. That fight is still ongoing, but you don't need a press pass to do your job. Blue Sapphire says, in regards to the Middle East, my fear is that Turkey will try to take the IRGC's place after it falls. Erdogan is an effing insane megalomania. That is true, but not for the same reason. So yes, Turkey with Erdogan are a little bit cuckoo, as you guys know. And in fact, today, when Erdogan was making a speech in Turkey, his supporters in the crowd were chanting, "We will take over Jerusalem." They wanted to march towards Jerusalem to take over Israel. Erdogan didn't say it himself, although he kind of indicated that yes, we will be patient and we will be victorious, whatever that means. But his supporters are going around saying take over Israel. Turkey and the Turkish regime are definitely a problem. They should not be in NATO. Trump is going to deal with that. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't think he's going to be able to kick him out because there's all the other NATO members as well. But nobody seems to care about Turkey in terms of all the evil that the Turkish government does on a regular basis, including against the Kurds. This is the whole problem we have. Everybody, and not that they care much about the IRGC. The Western side don't necessarily care about the Islamic Republic. They've been going around killing their own people, left, right, and center, women, children in Iran. They don't really care. You've seen the reaction from Barack Hussein Obama. You've seen the reactions from Bill Clinton back in the day, from even Joe Biden when he knows what Iran actually is. Sometimes he doesn't know. They don't care. But at least in terms of rhetoric, every now and then they have to come and condemn the Islamic Republic of Iran, right? No one seems to be concerned about Turkey, which is a little bit weird, but at least publicly, in terms of public statements, the Western governments, and Turkey is definitely a big problem. Paolo says, didn't the UK and the US contribute to the Khomeini, not the other one, the original Supreme Leader, Khomeini, taking over in the first place? Yeah, so that was a coup in the 1970s, in 79, obviously, when the Americans, the Western side, didn't like that Iran, with their monarchy, were becoming too close of an ally to Israel. Obviously, the Persians and the Jews were always allies anyway. There were ups and downs throughout history. When the Islamic occupation initially happened in Iran centuries ago, obviously that was different. But in the 60s and 70s, obviously Iran and Israel became ally. Iran didn't want to be a puppet of America, and there was the oil contracts between Iran and America was being expired in the late 70s. And then there was a lot of the main enemy in Iran was the communists from the Soviet Union. And the Shah of Iran, rightly so, had to do a massive crackdown on a bunch of communists who were doing treason. He was imprisoning the communists. And then there's this propaganda that started that the Shah of Iran, the king, is imprisoning innocent people. Since when? In Iran, you had freedom. You had a secular government, freedom of, obviously, political freedom and everything else. You could do whatever you want. Just don't do treason. It would be nice not to do treason. Communists were doing treason. But the Americans realized, Jimmy Carter, that idiot of a president, realized, well, the biggest enemy is the Soviet Union and the communists. So what do? We don't want the Shah. We don't want the communists. Oh, let's look at that beardy weirdy in France. That was Khomeini, who became the first supreme leader. CIA decided to help that idiot and his minions, Islamist minions, to be trained up and obviously send them to Iran, did a paramilitary coup. Then they somehow called it a revolution, a popular revolution. It was a paramilitary coup. It was a few hundred people with guns going around shooting people. And they said, yeah, this is a popular uprising. Okay. And then obviously the next day it backfired because the Islamists went on the street saying death to America. So well done, Jimmy Carter. You started this and your successors continued, including the Clintons, Biden, the Obamas, all of them. Usually the US Democrats that cause trouble across the world. Usually. Apart from W. Bush. Hoffman says, Happy Christmas to all, and I hope you have a prosperous new year. Have a pint on me, Maya. Thank you, Hoffman Singh, for that. I shall definitely have a pint on you. Let's see. There's a lot of turkey jokes. It's funny. Every time something happens every year, during Christmas time, something about the Turkish government, we mention Turkey, and the live chat goes crazy with turkey jokes. Up to a point where 2 years ago, Erdogan decided to officially change the name of the country from Turkey to the Turkish version, which is Turkey, so that people stop making jokes about Turkey and the animal turkey. Guess what, Erdogan? I'm still going to call your country Turkey. Sue me. What are you going to do about it? I'm not going to call it Turkey. That's the Turkish version. Anyway, I do love how even the so-called tyrannical dictators are still a bunch of snowflakes who get offended based on words, hurty words. Oh, I'll be offended if you call me Turkey. Call me Turkey. No. Man up, Erdogan. Man up. Yeah, but what we really care about is you guys, and it's Christmas, and Hanukkah's coming, so we're going to give you a discount. Yes, 2CTV discount. That's how you do a segue. 50% off using the promo code Christmas50, if you go on 2c.tv. If you haven't subscribed to 2CTV Plus, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Come on, guys. You get access to all the premium shows, documentaries. They're all uncensored. I can say whatever I want on that platform. This is our own independent platform, nothing to do with YouTube. And also, you get access to the chat forum, everything else. And we got so many good documentaries coming up soon. And our new partnership with Visegrad 24 and a couple of other brands from Europe and the United States and Canada and everywhere else. It's gonna be a great 2025. So join 2CTV Plus. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maya Tusi, and we are the media.